Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, osia dem yopo.
And also support the health sector in so many ways. Stunts from the United States government. But what we need to actually also state is that we are not on a head-on collision with the United States of America. They still continue to be important partners for this Ghana, for our country, our beloved country, Ghana. We still have quite a number of partnerships ongoing with them, and it's good for us to acknowledge that. But for this specific negotiation that has not gone well so far, the demands they were making were not something that actually aligned with our national priorities and the policies that we had in place. So, for instance, you want the health data of all Ghanaians for 25 good years. Meanwhile, you are going to give us $109 million for 5 years. Previously, we were getting close to about 1.2 billion, so it was $230 million every year. You are going to give us 109. We are supposed to give counterpart funding for $70 million. And you naturally decide that you want all our health data. If you look at the pharmaceutical industry, they are going to profit so much with that because there's so much enzyme and genetic sequencing that they can data on that they can actually rely on to develop a lot of medications that will be focused on treating certain conditions within Africa. Actually, that is how the world is actually going. So it's going to benefit them. They are going to get a lot of money for that, even just taking the pharmaceutical industry. And you come up with such a deal. It's actually not acceptable. Ghana cannot give away its health data to another country. It goes against national sovereignty, our sovereignty, a health sovereignty. It's not possible because the United States in return is also not giving us their health data. So where's the spirit of reciprocity? Then there was no negotiation. This is supposed to be bilateral. So we are supposed to arrive at consensus together. No such consensus was reached. And then more or less, we are being forced to accept these particular conditions. That would also certainly not work. So as talks have broken down on this, the assurance to Ghanaians is that, yes, we had a visionary leader who looked at what some of these possible developments and put in place the necessary interventions to ensure that the country is able to deal with it. I'm sure when we get back onto the negotiation table and decisions that will be in the interest of Ghana basically the conditions that will be in the interest of Ghana are clearly spelled out. Decisions will be taken so that we can get more resources to invest within the health sector of this country. And I think this is something that everybody would have to support.
Okay.
Every patriotic citizen would actually have to support this kind of decision. Other African countries have rejected it, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Many more are going to reject it because certainly it's not a balanced way of partnership.
Okay.
This Ghana health data issue, I was just looking at the word redacted, the meaning of the word redacted. These Epstein files in the US, the word came up a lot. I had not come across it. But it means to edit, obscure, or remove sensitive, confidential, or private information from a document before it is released. I think the narrative and the news has been that Ghana has more or less stood its ground and then faced off and has been able to keep its sovereignty by not signing a document. Moro, have you seen the MOU?
I haven't seen it yet.
You see, as a country, as we develop, I don't think the MOU is supposed to be a secret document.
We should put it out.
How can we do an informed analysis?
But we haven't seen the MOU.
Yeah, because some countries have signed on. My brother, CDD.
CDS.
Fantastic brain. I like him a lot. He's one of the people that when an issue comes or breaks on health, I want to hear his comments
Yeah.
because very objective,
Yeah.
very researched inputs. Now, my point is that some countries like Senegal and Nigeria, I stand to be corrected, have signed on to this agreement. What I know as a health advocate is that when it comes to health information data, the more regions or now countries try to share information, the more predictive they are in trying to stop, how do you call it, emerging diseases, in trying to plan for policies that will aid prevention. In fact, even in drug development, Moro. So I know that they've cited the Data Protection Act and then also the Public Health Act. But the same act, when you go and check, if some information becomes very necessary, there are some ways we can go about this reduction of information. It doesn't mean that, let's say, if we have to give data on prostate cases at Kolebu, we'll go and give the names, let's say, Okoboy aged 40, this, prostate. There can be serious reduction. Let me give you, and by the way, I'm not saying that automatically it's a good thing to sign to such MOUs.
Yeah.
But if we see the MOU, then we can make a more informed contribution. But people should be aware that across regions, some level of data is shared. So, because what we've been taught in the health ecosystem is that when you create barriers, oh, this is Ghana, so Togo should have their own information, Ghana should have their information. You can have an outbreak in Togo that can threaten our health ecosystem in Ghana.
True.
The best way to be healthy is to know what is happening in Togo.
Right.
It doesn't mean you know the Togolese patients who are having a particular condition, but they can send you trends or just the incidents. Now, let me give you an example. If a particular prostate drug developed, and we should admit it, some of the technology and capital you need to develop some drugs, we in certain parts of the world don't have it. Moro. So I'm giving you just one example.
Yes.
Why sometimes people should not just think that, oh, when you share data, there's a problem.
Okay.
If you have 1,000 prostate cases at Kolebu,
Yes.
and a drug which is working in America is not working among our prostate patients,
Okay.
then you might be asking yourself questions. How do you modify this drug
Okay.
so that if it is saving 80-90% of the patients in America,
Okay.
it will do the same in Ghana?
Okay.
It takes some form of information sharing to trigger all this. So all I'm saying is that let's try and give more information on this.
Okay.
If we can, we should give us some of the pages on the MOU. I don't think it's supposed to be a secret document.
Yeah.
And then once we get the information, we can give informed contribution. 2024. And then 2025, you get 9%. And you are told that, oh, don't worry, this 10% or so is because things are hard. But next year, when things get better, we are able to see the system. Life will be cool. Tomorrow, then you enter next year, 2026, and then you are getting 9%. It's going down. And you are told that, oh, it's because inflation has gone down. Inflation has gone down, yet you are paying more for electricity. In fact, when inflation was around 17% in 2024 when we were there, and the cedi was at, let's say, 14 or 15 cedis. If you want to go to Tamale and back, you are paying about 2,100 Ghana cedis. When inflation was in double digit and the cedi was struggling. Now that the cedi is alleged to be correct and inflation is down, you are paying over 3,000 for a return trip to Tamale. Oh,
did you use the word alleged?
Oh, but why wouldn't I say alleged? Because there's a disconnect. Moro, you don't get it.
Okay.
If the connection were there, I will not use alleged. But there's a serious disconnect. When I say disconnect, as the inflation drops down and the cedi gets stronger, you expect prices to either stabilize where they are or even come down. But they are going up.
Well, not necessarily to come down. Because we're not experiencing disinflation necessarily.
I'm not saying, I said, that's why I said the rate from 2,100 to 3,200 is almost 50%. There's a serious disconnect. There's an incongruity.
But doesn't make it alleged.
Well, okay, because you are my brother, there's a drop in inflation. Tomorrow, secondly, we are in a country where workers in this country became so alarmed by the rate at which their electricity units were being consumed compared to 2024 and said, what has happened? Is it that the meters are bad? And then the Minister for Energy my senior brother, JJ, sets up a committee to check whether it is the meters that are faulty or it is the rates that have set the meters to charge Ghanaians higher. Tomorrow, breaking news. The committee findings shows that all the meters are sacrosanct. Tomorrow. Sacrosanct means that they are pious, not Ajide, but there is nothing wrong with them. Tomorrow. They don't know it is the tightening of the meters as a result of the 24% increase in electricity that is making Ghanaians pay more. So if you're a Ghanaian worker and you were told that Akufo-Addo Bawumia was a disaster, and now you are paying more for electricity. And more, by the way, you are paying more for water. Immediately realize that, what is happening? And again, let me show you another serious disconnect. There are three key elements that determine electricity prices. One, cost of fuel. Two, the strength of the cedi. And then three, how do we call it? Inflation. As the cedi gets stronger, the electricity price is supposed to be either where it is or even come down. If the cost of fuel abroad or in Ghana goes down, like we've seen, it is a major indicator or index that should bring electricity price down. And then the last one is inflation. These are the three pillars on which electricity prices are set. Again, no, that's where the disconnect comes. How come for the first time in this country, you are having the cedi becoming stronger, inflation falling, fuel prices going down, and yet the ECG, the electricity bill, is rather going up? These are the things that when you talk to Ghanaians on the streets, in fact, more, there were some people that after the election, when they see me, they don't smile. Straight face. Why? Because they're like, Doc, we are upset with you guys. Hey, of late, I get some smiles in town. and when I try to find out, they go like, Doc, not knowing, you weren't that bad. I say, it's all in the hands of Allah. So, Moro,
isn't this rather alleged?
Oh,
no, this one is a fact.
When I'm experiencing people on the streets, you are saying it's alleged. This is my personal experience.
Moro,
they are watching. Oh. Those who are paying more are watching. So, Moro, I think that there are a group of people that want to celebrate workers.
Okay.
First of all, the teachers who are everywhere in this country, Moro, working in difficult conditions. In fact, as for the teachers, I want to single them out because what we become, what we are, and what we will be depends on the teacher.
I agree.
Because our biggest bet is not gold board. Our biggest bet is not the oil. In fact, oil revenues have been dwindling for the past 6 years. What will not dwindle? Invest in human beings. And I'm very proud of teachers in this country. I'm also very, very proud of officers in our security, soldiers, those who have made sure that, look at what happened recently in Mali.
Yeah.
You have a country where the Minister for Defense, you can have insurgents, rebels enter his house, engage in a gun battle, kill him. You have some parts of the country that are ungovernable. Nobody goes there.
Yeah.
But in this country, the borders have been secured. These are people I want to celebrate. I also want to say sorry to the nurses at home who were told that they will be posted automatically. Moro, the nurses were told that there will be automatic posting. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was on a campaign trip, said that, hey, you guys, instead of even staying at home for all this, we will put you on a payroll. It will be automatic. Automatic means that whilst entering your house, you are triggered onto the payroll. Moro, they've experienced a different story, and most of them are this morning sharing my grief in black. I also want to say sorry to headmasters across Ghana who were told that they will be giving them money to go to Mokola and go and shop for items. But as we speak, are threatening to, or not threatening, begging government to close down schools because the monies are not coming. And Moro, my last one are importers in this country. Moro, I think that during the last election, the NDC approached importers and told them that, look, when we come, in fact, there's a famous speech by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama where he started listing the taxes on items that are imported into this country. Number 1, COVID-19 levy. 2, COVID-19 stabilization levy. 3, import duty. 4, SHIM. 5, close to 20 as we speak. With the exception of 1 or 2, almost all are on. And Moro, if you speak to any importer today, if they should wear black, they will have one which is deeper than my colors. Because the AI, the publican AI system is now making sure that importers in this country, despite, and again, Moro, the disconnect again, you have a country that has a city that has become stronger, and so your expectation is that when you go to the port, if you used to pay 70,000 to get your Voxy out, you will now be paying about 40 or 30,000 because the city has become stronger. But there is a paradox where now, instead of paying what you used to pay under Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, you are paying almost 2 times. And what makes it even more difficult is that it is an artificial intelligence you are dealing with, it's not a human being. So there is no room for negotiation. So all I want to say is that hope is not, all that is not, all hope is not lost. Moro, the duty of the opposition, my duty here this morning, is to speak for Ghanaians and remind the incumbent of the promises they made. Moro, what I'm doing is the job of an opposition member, is to remind this government that you promised Ghanaians cheaper electricity, not even availability. Today I read that there's my brother JJ has posted something on his wall that it is done. All generations are back. The generations, the units were working before JJ came. When you give me something which I had already, it is not a time for celebration. What Ghanaians want to celebrate is a downward pricing of ECG bills. And so, Moro, my job here is to remind my senior in PRESEC and in KNUST, Honorable Senator Jokoto, that Ghanaians had high hopes and that the hopes appear to be dwindling. I don't wish them a disaster because I want to come to office. If I remind them well, Ghanaians will look at that and ensure that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia comes at the next election to give greater opportunities to the workers who are grieving this morning. Moro, I humbly submit.
Okay. Let's take a breather, and then when I come, because I don't.
My colleague, former Minister of Health,
Yeah.
Former Chief Executive Officer for National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Okuboi, and obviously my former football mate from medical school. I always say this because I was a far better player than he was when we were back in school.
Yeah.
But let me buttress the point that he just made.
Right.
And use this very big platform to also express my gratitude to the Ghanaian worker for the dedication, commitment, and hard work that they've been putting across years upon years. I think without them, there's no way that this country would have achieved economic growth and development. So today, to our artisans, to our farmers, to our health workers, to our teachers, those who are in the private sector, I doff my hat off to you. Thank you for all the sacrifices that you have been making for this country. And I know that the economic environment that has been created, better inflation, better interest rates, at least that lessens the burden on all of us. And from time to time, I'm sure today as we listen to the president, we may hear some more good news about initiatives that he has for the Ghanaian worker. I know teachers, one thing that the president is looking at is trying to find a permanent dwelling place for all teachers. Health workers are getting their package as well. And for those who are not within the formal sector, the informal sector workers, that's also one very important contributing group to the development of this country. And there are so many opportunities that is being created currently by government just to ensure that we reduce unemployment, we create a better environment for them, like I said, for the economic growth and development of this country. So on behalf of the people of Ghana, let me thank all workers. And obviously I'm going to be biased just like my brother Okuboi was biased. I'm also a health worker. Right. I've had the opportunity to practice in Techiman, in Navrongo, in Georgia, in Kwanta South, in Kwanta North, in Ho, quite a number of places. So I want to use this opportunity to thank my colleague health workers, the community health nurses in Tutukweni, Bontibo, Shiari, very, very, very difficult places that I've worked in the past. I can tell you that they know no rest. When you are there 24 hours, you are supposed to be on duty, engaging the community, ensuring that the community's health objectives are reached. So on this day, let me thank all of you from community health nurses, our midwives who struggle through the night. Sometimes you have very, very difficult cases and you have to do your best to keep people alive. The country appreciates you so much. And even as we implement this free primary health care, it is my hope and wish that your conditions would get better, you get more resources to work with so that you can also deliver appropriately. And this one, together with my former chief executive for the National Health Insurance Authority, let me also say a big thank you to all the staff of National Health Insurance Authority, where I currently work, especially to our current CEO, Dr. Victor Asare Bampo. If you want leadership personified, just come and understudy how he's currently leading the National Health Insurance Authority from success to success. And to my two other deputy chief executives, Anatu Bogogri and Mr. Raf Segbek, is Deputy Chief Executive Finance and Investment, Deputy Chief Executive Admin and HR, and I'm Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations. So together with all our directors, deputy directors, all the staff, we've worked to ensure that we deliver a health insurance that is in better health. And I'll take this platform, take this opportunity to encourage everybody who is not yet registered on the National Health Insurance Authority, especially those who are in the informal sector, to get registered. We are doing what we call Operation Storm, registering at no cost to everybody so that we expand access to healthcare. Thank you very much, Moro.
There are two questions that I want to ask the two of you, and I would want your very honest call it response or answers to these questions. Is the Ghanaian worker today better off? Is the Ghanaian worker today a happier? I don't want to use laborer because sometimes the word laborer can be interpreted in some ways. But let me say, is the Ghanaian worker a happier worker today? That's number one. Number two, the attitude of the average Ghanaian worker. And I'm sure that if we want to start, we can go through a tall list of some of the concerns that employers have with the Ghanaian worker. But topmost, laziness, not being issues about punctuality, issues about honesty, issues about integrity. Of course, they also have their own concerns. I mean, that's why I asked whether is the Ghanaian worker today happy and is the Ghanaian employer today a happier person. Dr. Koboy, from where you sit, do you think that the Ghanaian worker today will look back and say today he's better off?
Well, first of all, let me say a very good morning once again to your viewers. And Moro, I spoke to Dr. Mahmoud Baumia before coming.
Okay. How's he doing?
Yeah, by His grace.
Okay.
By the blessings of Allah, he's fine. And he wishes all Ghanaian workers very well on such a day. And in fact, it was after talking to him that I decided to wear black.
Okay.
Because you realize that only few organizations are actually, how do I put it, experiencing conditions that maybe makes them a little bit happy. If you take NHIS, for example, like my brother said, Dr. Bampo doing a fantastic job, relationship, and then some of the initiatives. And I think releases to NHIS is also on point. So maybe staff of NHIS might have something to celebrate about. And then Gold Board, when you look at their staff strength that has grown, and you also look at some of the revenues that have been reported that they are making and the leadership Sami is giving them, I suspect they're happy. But, Moro, a big chunk of this country, life is not easy. If you're a worker who used to get 25% increase in your salary.
That is the watchwords for today. To wit, if somebody with nothing says he's going to give you something, just listen to his or her name. Because not in the far past, just a couple of years ago, we all knew the prevailing conditions within this country. How low we sank in terms of economic indicators. That led to an election that produced the worst results for any party in government. Nobody since 1992 has actually done beyond 44%, as below 44% as a sitting government. But for the first time, we had a sitting government doing about 41%. So that tells you the disapproval ratings of that party in government. But what led to that? You see, for instance, I am a public sector worker. That's what all I've done over the past years. For the past almost 20 years, I've been working, receiving salary, and trying to make the best out of the situation that I have. In the year 2021, 2022, all the savings that I had made over 10 to 15 years all went down the drain. Why? Because the purchasing power had reduced immensely. So we had a cedi that moved from 8 cedis in 2020 to about 17 cedis. So your purchasing power reduces by 50% outright within 2 years. And for the first time, I could feel poverty coming very close to me as a public sector worker. I mean, you are deemed as a medical doctor one of the best paying professions when it comes to the public sector. But all the savings that you have made completely being eroded because of the difficult economic situations that we are there. When you wanted to even venture into business, the interest rates were hovering way beyond 30%. Then you have a peculiar case of inflation, about 54%. So today you go to the market, you spend 500 cedis, the next day it's 700 cedis. Even rice that we used to buy, 5 kg rice, all of a sudden shot up from about 150 cedis to 500 cedis. Now today is declined to about 260 cedis or so. So, listen, those days were very difficult days for us. We all knew the interest rates. We all knew what the exchange rates were at the time. And look at how we have been able to manage the economy since last year. The positive economic indicators that we are having. Yes, say uni veranda, to which what I'm trying to say is that even if you don't even have the basis to build on, you will not be able to even improve the lives of Ghanaians. So as soon as we came, we ensured that there was improved fiscal discipline. So today as we speak, what is inflation in this country? For the first time, we are doing under 5%. What are interest rates? The cost of borrowing has significantly come down, 17%. People are able to invest in their businesses. You see, the macroeconomic stability makes it able for common health workers like myself to actually plan. You know how much you are going to pay for school fees. You know how much you are going to pay for a lot of the essential goods and services that you require. You see, you pointed out the definition of inflation. It is the rate at which prices go up. That's the definition of inflation. So definitely for every economy, even Japan, you are going to have inflation of 2%, 3%. The United States of America. But if you look at our sub-region, if you look at lower middle income countries, Ghana is one of the best performing countries in terms of the economy right now. Not too far ago, just 2 or 3 years ago, we had the worst performing currency, Ghana cedis. That was the worst performing currency. But now, if you look at the global watch, they will tell you that Ghana's cedi is actually one of the best performing currencies. So yes, indeed, I would say that the health worker is actually in a better, or the Ghanaian worker is actually in a better place, because we are showing strong leadership, competence, a lot of discipline and integrity in the way we are running this country now. You see, that there are a lot of things that we want to compare, but we don't want to actually get into the mood where we are doing partisan debates. We are here to build a country. That is what the President of the Republic is focusing on.
Okay.
You see, we can make an example of the energy sector. Just 2-3 years ago, you look at the energy sector debts that we had in this country. We are accruing debts of close to $1 billion each year. The independent power producers, every day they were threatening to go on strike. ECG, VRA, their debt accumulation was something that was actually drowning these organizations. Power outages came at a point in time. And the then Minister of Energy, when questioned, said, what I want
to say is this, that we would have a whole conversation about the power situation. Yes, about the power situation. It's one of the topics that we intend to look at, because it's all over. You know, yesterday the president was at Akosombo to ascertain for himself the current situation with the Akosombo substation and what happened to it and so on. And it's a whole topic that we intend to do. But whilst at it, I get the impression, or what I get, a sense I get from everything Dr. Koboy has said, is that yes, he agrees with you that the macro numbers are looking good. Inflation, the strength of the currency, our international reserves, etc., 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 debt to GDP and so on. Perhaps his only point of departure, as I have heard him say, is that there appears to be a disconnect between these macro numbers and the micro economics, i.e. what we experience when we go to the markets, the things that we buy at the shops, how much we pay for our services, and the services that are rendered by, we pay for public service and so on. You are not just a public officer, but you're also an ordinary person. Not as ordinary as you also buy stuff from the market.
Yeah.
You know, you buy stuff. Are you experiencing the very things he says experiencing, where he's talking about the prices doubling, in some cases tripling, and so on? Is that the same thing that you also see or you're experiencing?
Well, certainly Ghanaians are witnesses in this matter. It need not even come from me. But what he's saying definitely is inaccurate. It's misleading. Okay. Because definitely if you are going to calculate inflation, you don't pick one item and say because of the price of this particular service has gone. It's a basket of services and goods that is looked at.
Right.
And if you look at the overall balance, you'd realize that inflation has actually come down from the very high heights of where it was, 54%, to about 6% at present. And we've actually experienced 3.3%. Thank you very much. So it's way below the 5% that I'm actually talking about. And there are so many, food inflation down, so many goods that have had their prices actually come down. But to look at a peculiar problem and then a challenge that we inherited, that we are currently solving, and point out to the fact that just because of one or two items, you generalize and say that prices have gone up. It's actually misleading. The people of this country would actually not agree with you.
So you disagree? That
I completely disagree. The cost of living certainly has not been worse, is way better than it was 2 or 3 years ago. Okay. And obviously we know that this is a job, this is work in progress. So we picked it from a very low point, unprecedented in the history of this country. And we are now improving it from time to time. And we are hopeful. We know that President Mahama and his leadership presents much more hope to the people of this country than ever before.
Right. Okay, so gentlemen, I want us to move on. You say things are bad, he say things are good. So we don't want to litigate this. Otherwise,
once again, let me apologize to your viewers for the disappointment and how they feel.
Okay. So gentlemen, we all know that we have some challenges with our power sector, and except that things got to a head in the last few days when there was some development at Akosombo which sort of affected, it sort of made it worse. Now, there have been all kinds of interventions. The energy minister has been, going back and forth, visiting the site where the problem happened, and he's been updating Ghanaians on the on the situation. And it appears that there's been some sense of urgency which has been attached to sort of improving the situation. Now, yesterday, the president himself was at Akosombo. I don't want to brag if you have the video, because we're still talking about the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian as we celebrate Workers' Day. If you have the video of the president's visit to Akosombo, I think we played it this morning. Can you play that video so that triggers our next conversation? Bright, is the video ready? Oh, okay.
DRA has been one of the best organized state-owned enterprises. So I'm not surprised that you have the kind of quality of human resource to be able to ameliorate what happened. And so when I heard that, our engineers say they're going to find a way of bringing it back on, I wasn't surprised, because I know VRA has some of the best personnel you can ever get anywhere in the world. So I want to thank you for the sacrifice. This is an act of God. I mean, who would have expected that the control room would develop this kind of fire? But of course, I hear it's been there since 1964. So they say in adversity is opportunity. Because now that this adversity has happened, it makes it, gives us an opportunity to replace with it a more modern control room that will serve this Akosombo plant and let it work for more generations yet unborn. And so I told the minister I was coming here to see for myself the work you had done. He's briefed me. You have 4 of the turbines back on, and he says that you're working another miracle and that I'll get good news soon with the remaining 2 turbines also coming back on. So I want to thank you very much for what you've done, and we encourage you to continue to work. VRA will continue to be one of the foremost state-owned enterprises, and Gridco and VRA, both of you, every support government can give you will continue to give you. Thank you very much.
So you saw the president in your shot. He's hinted the government will replace the damage to Gridco substation at Akosombo that plunged the country into intermittent power darkness following that fire outbreak. He discloses that the facility will be upgraded to have a modern control room. President Mahama asked that the inferno which destroyed the Gridco facility offers Ghana a chance to construct a more advanced center that will serve not just the current generation but future generation as well. And the extent of damage, unbelievable. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, oof, wow. Well, sometimes, I don't know, but you hear people say that perhaps this is an act of arson. I don't know. It's early days yet. A survey member committee has been put in place to look into the thing. But when you look at the extent of damage, it's sometimes fair for people to raise those questions and to suspect some kind of a foul play, because it's serious, very serious. Well, yesterday, again, the energy minister put something out on his Facebook wall, and let me just bring to you what he says. Now, the energy minister says, mission accomplished. All generation units are now back in service. In the face of a major system disruption and against all odds, our engineers, technicians, and emergency teams worked around the clock to restore power and stabilize the grid. Through their tireless work, discipline, and commitment to country, power has been restored and system stability secured. I extend my sincere appreciation to the leadership and staff of Gridco, VRA, ECG, and all supporting agencies whose coordination made this possible. This moment shows that even under pressure, Ghana can rely on the strength and skill of its people. May God bless our engineers, our energy sector, and our nation. I'll start with you. Sorry, was it Doc? Or what was it the one you want to start with?
First one, you started with me.
Oh, sorry, start with him. Okay, all right. So it looks like we're back. Everything is back to normal now, or there are still some concerns based on what you heard the president say. First of all, what do you make of the president's visit to Akosombo to see things for himself?
It gives us a lot of hope that we have a president who is a listening leader, who is always feeling the pulse of the people, going there to actually inspect what is being done. Obviously, they've had high-level engagement on how to resolve this particular matter. You see, I would like us to look at some of these issues dispassionately.
Right.
Ghana currently has an installed capacity of 5,500 megawatts.
Okay.
During peak hours, we require about 4,300 megawatts.
Right.
Now, the force majeure, as the president talked about when he visited Akosombo yesterday, led to about 1,000 megawatts being lost. So if that is also compounded by the technical and the distribution losses, then clearly Ghana is going to be in a deficit. So this was actually an act of God, as the president described it. Nobody actually woke up and thought that we would end up in this situation.
Right.
So on the 23rd of April, that's when we actually had the fire.
Yeah.
You see, as a government, from time to time, you are going to have such challenges. And what actually defines a robust and resilient leadership is how you actually respond to some of these concerns.
Right.
I know how it feels not to have power, especially in the evening. It actually affects businesses. It affects even the mental health of the individuals, because in the evenings, you would certainly not have enough sleep. I remember just a couple of weeks ago when I faced that situation. The whole night, no sleep, I had to wake up, go to work. And you even open your windows and it's as if the air is still all over. Mm-hmm. Nothing is entering. You have to try and find some corridor and actually sleep. That is how difficult actually it can be. So nobody actually underestimates the effects of those work. Right. But look at the response of government in this situation. Quickly, the energy minister, John Jinapo, marshaled his leadership. Obviously, the president was given guidance as well. They went in quickly to go and resolve this issue. And just within 7 days, the 1,000 megawatts has been restored. Yesterday, you heard what the energy minister put on his Facebook page. Yeah. All the 6 units that went down after the fire has actually been restored. And that is actually good news for Ghana. And I'm happy that on this Workers' Day, we are not going to face that acute shortage of electricity supply. But that said, I know that challenges have existed over the period. And there's so much that we actually have to do to be able to stabilize power generation. Because for a country that wants to industrialize, if we do not have constant supply of affordable power, there's no way we'll be able to achieve our objectives. We are working towards increased productivity using the 24-hour economy and so many other investments that we are putting in the manufacturing industry. Because if you look at Ghana's manufacturing prowess, way below, and that actually gives us challenges when it comes to the forex stabilization, because they are not exporting enough. And the basis of this certainly is power. You saw the response we put in when Ghana faced a long-term deficit of generation capacity in 2015. That is what actually sustained us from 2016 all the way to 2024. So what are we supposed to actually do? Noting this, the government actually is putting in place firm plans to make sure that we have an additional 1,200 megawatts of generation capacity from thermal plants, so that in case one day we have some of these major disasters, we do not have to actually go through some of these difficulties. And everybody knows the challenges that ECG is actually also facing with archaic infrastructure, the transformers, so on and so forth. And actually, so much work is actually being put into that. So that within the next 6 months to a year, we are able to change a lot of these faulty transformers. A lot of them are overloaded, most of them not functioning well. So once it gets to peak hours, any little thing that happens, the lights actually goes off. One thing that I must commend the ECG and the Minister for Energy is their prompt communication. I've seen that they've taken the plight of Ghanaians to heart when it comes to this electricity matter. They are giving information. So in my area, when there's going to be light off, I actually know and actually plan towards that. Whilst doing that, they're also putting in a lot of effort to make sure that the challenges are fixed. So yes, Ghana, we are listening to you. We are putting in place short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. Obviously, renewable energy is one of the areas that we have to look at. By 2030, if you look at the mix of generation capacity, we have at least 10% should be from renewable energy. That's actually more sustainable and environmentally friendly. And we are looking at a situation where by 2050, about 30% of our energy generation will be due to renewable energy. So when you contrast this with what happened in 2022, 2023, where the energy or the debts within the energy sector was actually ballooning, I was alluding to the facts in my earlier submission that the independent power producers in 2023, 2024, always they were threatening to actually shut down their plants because government was owing them billions of cedis and they were actually not ready to pay. There was a misapplication of the ESLA funding. ECG over a long time had actually been under recovering. Once we are not able to recover the investments in the power distribution sector, it would actually lead to the accumulation of debts. So putting all this together, we actually want to know what others would have done differently because we saw what they did when they were even asked for a common timetable. Look at the kind of communication they gave Ghanaians, that if you are experiencing doomsday, what looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, is certainly a duck. You are feeling it. The lights are going off on and off. 2023, 2024. You go and ask your minister in charge, and then they tell you that.
Whenever I say PENDREAM TV, PENDREAM TV, there, I see them, you